And stuck emotional energy will block the sacral chakra. So we're gonna have an example case here. Her name is Isabel, and she had a bad first intimacy experience. Her first boyfriend, who she lost her virginity to, broke up with her after they were intimate. And then he went around and told everybody, and they were in high school, and he went around and told all of his friends that she was easy, in the whole school that she was easy. So all of this shame and all of that emotional energy from that experience created an emotional energy block of shame and insecurity. But it goes deeper, because the reason why her boyfriend did that was because his mom had this view that if a woman is intimate with a man outside of marriage, then she's telling her son, like, if she sleeps with you, she's a hoe. So so he had that association. So when they were intimate together, what did he do? He deposited his shame that he inherited from his mom into Isabel's sacral chakra. So now Isabel has this emotional block of shame and insecurity. Now, some of this is her shame, some of this is her insecurity, but some of this is deposited there from her boyfriend when they were intimate. He pumped all that shame and insecurity into her, like literally, right? And a lot of it came from his mom too. And isn't it just interesting how energy can transfer? So she's got this block in her sacral chakra. And what's really interesting about this is this block right here is going to be at the source of a whole lot of problems. And you're going to see as we move forward in our case example, how this one block can create a whole host of issues for her and her energy field and her life. And I just want to say this is a very simplified example, because the majority of us have multiple blocks. But in this case, we're just focusing on one to make it like understandable and relatable. So this block affects the energy her sacral is transmitting to power the second layer of her aura. And her wounding is on psychic display, right? Because if we've got the block of our shame and insecurity in our sacral, and the sacral is transmitting out to create the second layer of the aura, well, what's going to be transmitted out into the second layer? That shame and insecurity. So even if she, for all appearances, looks perfectly put together, her hair is perfect, her makeup's perfect, let's say she's just this gorgeous girl, there's still going to be something in her second layer that's communicating her insecurity and her shame. And people may not see this on a conscious level, but people do see this on a subconscious psychic level, especially predators. Or when I say predator, I mean a person who is going to be attracted to her because of her insecurities, because they're going to see her as easy to manipulate through this wound and due to this wound. And the other thing to remember is this block right here is carrying a frequency, the frequency of insecurity and shame. The insecurity and shame lives in the sacral. So she's got this insecurity and shame energy block. And remember, some of it's hers because she felt insecurity and shame over sharing intimacy with a boy who just dumped her and went and, talked trash about her, but also that he deposited, right? So we got this little combo shame and insecurity block here. And that's interfering with the sacral's ability to just channel this beautiful second layer energy. Okay. And it also is going to make her vulnerable to cords, because wherever there's an energy block, there's a matching frequency to an energetic cord. So her next boyfriend, right, he's going to cord her sacral chakra, but he wouldn't be able to cord it if she didn't have any energy blocks here, okay? But because of this block, it's a match, and his cord. Now, her new boyfriend, he has shame and insecurity. I mean, we all do, right? Let's just be real here. And his shame and insecurity It might be his own flavor of shame and insecurity, but you watched one of my videos on my most recent root chakra video where I talk about how people will cord other people to deposit their emotional energy that they can't release. And that's one of their ways of releasing it. So he's just like, oh, okay, she's got a match in her sacral, so I can put a cord on it. And now I have a way to release all of my shame and insecurity without having to process it myself. So our new boyfriend is essentially pumping his shame and insecurity into her sacral chakra through his energetic cord. And when emotional energy blocks get corded, it results in triggered insecurity, jealousy, and anxiety. And I want to point out here, she's not occupying this part of her sacral chakra. If she attempts to like move her energy into this part of her sacral, she's going to feel shame and insecurity. And nobody wants to feel shame and insecurity. And Isabel definitely doesn't want to feel it. So she is just not occupying this space. One, because when she does go to there, it's uncomfortable. She doesn't want to feel it. And for two, because she can't really, right? Because there's something there that's blocking her from being able to. But when it gets corded and he starts pumping all his shame and insecurity into her, there's a frequency match to the shame and insecurity. She starts feeling it because it's cording it. It's being corded, so it's being agitated. And he's also adding more, and she thinks it's hers. So she starts feeling all this shame and insecurity in her current relationship. She's not able to identify that shame and insecurity is not her own because it's touching hers. So she thinks it's hers, right? So she's feeling insecure and jealous and anxious. And here, these clouds here are representing that emotional process. Now, she's not feeling it as a block unless she goes there. The block is a repressed emotion that we dissociate from, right? But when it's corded and agitated, it just like generates this. Now she's feeling it. So this is felt emotion. This is the repressed emotion in the block. This is felt emotion in the clouds. So she, right now, she is feeling insecure and shameful and jealous and triggered, right? That's what a trigger is when a block gets corded. Entities and attachments, they're like the energetic pests, and they're attracted to the negative emotions and feed on them, which you know, right? So here come the entities and attachments, and I just use little bats to demonstrate entities and attachments. And you'll see this is going to begin to look more and more like a Halloween ad, a Halloween image as we move forward, all the orange but this is people's energy fields do look that way. And that's why I'm trying so hard to just like convey that and raise awareness about that. Okay, so here's entities and attachments. They're like, yum, yum, yum. We want to eat all this energy. They're in the same frequency, right? Every low frequency negative emotional energy is going to have a correlation to an entity attachment because entities attachments live in the low frequencies. So you have a low frequency emotion, like that's their sustenance. They need that to strengthen their frequency. Okay, right? And they'll keep wounds regularly triggered, which is going to amplify the insecurity, jealousy, and anxiety. So not only do we got the cord triggering it, and I say wound, but what is a wound? An energy block, right? It's going to amplify insecurity, jealousy, and anxiety. So now there's a whole bunch going on. There's a whole bunch going on. And now she is feeling really jealous, really insecure, really shameful, really anxious because it's all agitated in her field. And the entities are doing this so they can feast. They also can write in to chakras from cords. So let's say her new boyfriend, he has entities and attachments in his field and he cords her. So now because she's corded by him, the entities, attachments in his field have a way in. They can write into her sacral and her energy field via his cord to her. See how this block just started a whole host of issues for her in the sacral? Like, Lord. Okay, so the goal in healing is to discover and clear the stuck emotional energetic block. That's the goal, because it's at the source of all of these issues, right? It's at the source. If there's no block, then we don't have any of this going on. It's the repressed emotional energy that's sourcing it all the issues. Here's the thing though, the entities, attachments, and cords are preventing the block from being cleared. And this is what I want you to think of. If you have a shed and you put all this stuff in the shed that you don't know what to do with, but you never go in the shed because it's dark, there's spiders, let's say there's spiders, there's rats, there's mice, maybe even a squatter, you're not gonna go in that shed. If there is a box covered in spiders, you're not going to grab that box and empty it out, are you? No, nobody wants to do that. Freaking spiders on it. But if there was no like homeless person living in your shed, or spiders or mice or rats or whatever, then you're going to feel like it's a little bit more approachable. And that's just kind of like how it works with entities, attachments. Cords would be like if there's a lock on your shed, like, well, that's a block, right? That's a block. Because the lock would be like the cord, and then like someone else has the key to the lock. So the first step is you got to get the entities and attachments out of the way. And that's why I do this a lot. Like, we got to clear the invasive energies and we request the angels' help. And here's my animation to demonstrate that, right? And you can say it out loud or in your mind. Just, angels, please clear mine or my client or your client's name, whoever you're healing, sacral chakra, of all entities and attachments. This is going to get a lot of them. Here we go. Here's my animation for that. The angels, the reason why, okay, for one, because permission. For two, because when you make that request and you offer coordinates, right, out of my sacral, they can just direct their high frequency, because they exist and hold high frequency. So directing that high frequency into that area. And as they do so, that high frequency introduced to low frequency, right, to these invasives, is just going to clear them. And that's why that works. Okay. But now she still has all that triggered emotional energy. She's like in this cloud of triggered emotional energy. And as you know, you can clear triggered emotional energy relatively easily. You can wash it away with divine golden healing water. You work with that element of water and just allow it. Then that can be your energetic disposal, just like that. Or you can just wash it. You can wash it out into the earth, wash it out into the earth. There's a lot of different techniques that you could use to clear triggered emotional energy. It's really easy to clear triggered emotional energy. Okay, so now we got all the triggered emotional energy out of the way. Yay. So first we had to get rid of the attachments, then we had to get rid of that triggered emotional energy. She's going to feel better now. Like, let's say if this is you, or if this is a client or someone you're offering healing for, she's going to feel better, because all this stuff that was in her aura, this is all the emotional stuff that she was processing and feeling. But if this isn't addressed, it's just going to happen again, right? We got to get that cord off and the block out too. So now we got to dissolve the cords. Now, I want to mention about dissolving the cords, okay? So you can dissolve an energetic cord with high frequency energy and intention. You can. But I do always mention to try to get manually involved with it. And I'm going to share with you a quick story on why. I used to have a client who was really kind of a codependent client. She had a lot of toxic relationships, and she was always getting corded. And I used to have a session called a ninja, and I called it a ninja because if somebody was in energetic crisis, they could just get the ninja, and I would just go into astral and clear them, right? And then they would be better. And so she was always getting these ninja sessions from me. And the other thing that was beautiful about her was the fact that she was really excellent at giving me feedback. So if she wasn't getting a shift, she'd be like, no, I still feel it. I still feel it. I still feel it. Because she was really heightened energetic sensitivity. So if I didn't get it, she would tell me, no, it's still there. But if I get it, she'd say, oh yeah, that's better. Okay, I'm better. Thank you. And she was always corded. So she would like get her ninja from me. Woman always had cords. She had multiple relationships with men and toxic relationships with multiple men. She had multiple toxic relationships with multiple men. So she was always corded, especially to her sacral. And she was always getting these ninjas from me. And so I'd go into astral to take off these cords. And very often she would be like, I don't know, I still feel it. I still feel it. And then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get my tools. I'm going to get hands-on with it. And every time I got hands-on with it and I would just grab the cord out, she'd be like, oh, there it is. I get the relief now. And that was when I learned, yeah, sometimes you really do just have to kind of get hands-on with those cords. But that doesn't mean that visualization and intention doesn't work for cords. It really just kind of depends on the strength of it and how active it is. So I just wanted to put that in there really quick. So you're either manually clearing the cord or clearing the cord using divine healing energy. Now the cord's out of the way. Remember, we could not clear that block until the cord was out of the way. We had to get the entities out of the way. We had to get all of her. Well, we could have left all of that triggered emotional energy on her, but why? Let's get that off as soon as we can so she can feel better, right? And then we'll address the rest of it, getting the cords and now the block. The next step is going to be to dissolve the stuck emotional energy block with divine golden healing light. And here's another caveat. It is a little bit easier to clear the block if you can get it out of the chakra first. And it's kind of the same thing as the cord. If you want to grab it and pull it out manually, you might have more success than if you're trying to clear it inside the chakra. And you can try and experiment either way. But sometimes it really is best to just pull it out of the chakra and then clear it. And you can do that through intention, visualization, or manual, just like I say with the cords. But you could also just bring that divine healing energy into the chakra where the blocks are to dissolve and clear them. This is when, if you're working on a client or you're working on yourself, you know you're on that block when you feel that emotional release, right? When you feel the emotion surface. The block is actually, as it breaks up and dissolves, it's going to end up turning into all those clouds in the second layer like we saw initially. But that's not triggered emotional energy. That's releasing emotional energy. As you pull it out, it might start to cloud up the aura. And this is where other healers tend to maybe like miss this part, is they may not be really good about energetic disposal following session. And it will eventually work its way out, but you can clear it for them so that they don't have as much release time to process. But pulling this block out, so you can dissolve it in the chakra, or you can pull it out and dissolve it in its entirety. It will usually inevitably leave some clouds. So that's why you always want to make sure they're grounding really good after too. Just get all that flushed out. Okay. And you can do this every time you feel triggered. And this is when a trigger becomes a blessing. Because if you feel triggered, you're like, oh, there's a block. There's a block there. And you can find that freaking block, because blocks hide. But if you get triggered, that's pointing the way to you, to where a block is. And that's a good thing, because the more blocks you can clear, the more immune you become to cords, right? And invasives and all of the stuff that sucks to go through. And your angels want you to know they love you. They're here to help you. The more you put effort into healing and clearing yourself, the more they're going to just support you. They're always going to match your efforts. I have to point this out. These are some examples of sacral chakra clogging and entity damage. So your sacral chakra has that middle section, right, that runs in the center. This is that middle section. If this becomes clogged, it can't circulate energy, right, from front to back. And energy blocks will very often clog up that part of your sacral chakra, all the chakras. Right? And you can really apply everything that I'm sharing with you now. This applies across the board for all the chakras. But right now, we're doing sacral. But this, and the example case is the sacral, and we're in sacral week. So I'm using this example, but just remember, this can happen to all the chakras. So you see how the chakra is like generating that light, right? From the front and back, and I should have done an image to show light in the center. So here's the block, and that block is actually going to inhibit the backside of the chakra from emitting that energy. And you lose your natural allure when this happens, because your sacral powers your energetic sex appeal. That vibe that you give off, that natural sex appeal. And this has nothing to do with your appearances and everything to do with vibe. Have you ever seen someone who's just like, on a surface level, they look all perfect and put together, but the energy they give off isn't attractive? That's a good example of that. Or somebody who they wouldn't technically be considered attractive, but you're attracted to them because of their energy, their vibe. It's like one of those things. That's why teenagers tend to have like a lot of that sexual energy, is because you're developing your sacral in your teenage years. And then as adults, by the time we're adults, our sacrals are jacked from a life and all the blocks that we've accumulated. But you clear them all out. You can recapture that. You can recapture that. So we're going to talk about entity gashes. So here's some entities. We've got a healthy chakra. We've got a healthy second layer. But there's entities around. And they're always seeking entry into your aura, particularly the second layer in the sacral. Because sacral energies is sexual energy, is the most sought after. It's the power of creation. Entities, attachments, they don't have access to source creative energy. You do. You do through your sacral. So if they want it, they have to get it through your sacral. And they use that creative energy for their own purposes. Distort it for their own purposes. So let's say Isabel healed herself. She did her healing work. She's healed. She got the energy blocks out. She's got a healthy sacral chakra and a healthy second layer. But she still has some patterns to clear around like the type of men that she attracts. And she's a beautiful girl. And so she's in this relationship with this new guy who has entities on him. And I just want to point out, if your aura is damaged, they do have an easy way in. So let's say she got a little aura damage. She got in a fight with her ex. He thrashed her aura. She has aura damage. Now entities have a way in. And I'm not saying this to freak you out. I'm not trying to be freaky here. I'm just like, look, information is power. And if you know about this, then you have the advantage over them. But if you don't know about this, they have the advantage over you, right? So they're going to try to create a gash. Now, how will they do that? They will get on a man. Let's say there's some entities, they want beautiful Isabel's energy. They're going to get into these entities on the man, and they have a collective consciousness, like a hive consciousness. This new toxic guy, he's got entities on him. Let's say they get in a fight, and he psychically attacks her. He psychically attacks her using the energy. Remember how entities are always involved in psychic attack that causes the most damage. So the entities on him are actually attacking her through him. So he yells at her. He's like, well, you're just a whore anyway. And she may have cleared this block, but, anyway, he psychically attacks her. And it's the entity on him and is gashing her sacral, or the entity on him. So there's some gash. So after the intimacy she shares with him, she gets physical with him. He humiliates her. There's her entity gash to her sacral. And also, maybe to her aura too, right? They'll attempt to gash the chakra and the layer of the aura. They want access. They want access to her. And I have to say, the more powerful your energy is, the more they're going to try. The more they're going to try. And I'm not saying this to make you paranoid. I'm saying this to help you to be diligent. Okay. So looks like another Halloween ad, right? We've got entities. They really want her aura. They friggin' got access to her chakra, access to her aura. They move in, and there's all this negative energy again. She thinks it's her choice in relationship partners, but really probably just has a lot to do with energy. And now she's feeling anxiety, insecurity, and jealousy again, right? Poor Isabel. She's having a time, but we all go through this, right? We all have been through this, or have gone through this, or understand or know someone, right? So the remedies to clear the entities, clear the energy, trigger the emotional energy, and then repair the chakra and the aura. And I've seen this so many times, throughout the years. Those are like hundreds and thousands of, I don't know how many sessions I've done over the past 15 years. But not just that, but, I was a psychic since I was 16. So I've had opportunity to witness, a lot of what occurs in romantic relationships. And so this is just so common. This is so common. So this is a simple remedy. Simple remedy. Angels, please clear my sacral chakra and second auric layer of entities and attachments. Again, bringing in, directing that high frequency energy by permission, by request, to get them out of the way. This can clear in minutes, and then she can be better and move on. But if you don't take the time to clear it, then this can last a lifetime. And that's another reason why I'm so passionate about sharing this, is because wow, you can clear this in minutes and have an awesome life, and then clear it again if it comes up. Or you can go your whole life miserable, because this stuff is not going to resolve on its own. So clearing the triggered emotional energy, but here's another technique. You can gather up all that triggered emotional energy in one spot to make it easier to manage, right? Just gather it all up in one spot and then introduce that divine high frequency energy. You can use Reiki. You can ask your angels to give healing energy for it. Or you can use golden healing energy. If you have the wand attunement, sword and wand attunement, you can use that energy. And that'll dissolve that triggered emotional energy. You can ground out a lot of that too. That can be grounded too. You can put it in the well. So clearing that. And then we still have the gashes. And so remembering, if these gashes are not cleared and repaired, if these gashes aren't repaired, well, there's another way in for entities. And then we're just going to end up back to square one again, right? So you got to fix the damage. So fixing the damage to the chakra. And it reseals really easily, just like we did with our aura repair. Staying on top of this will increase your confidence. You'll feel like your appearance, you'll actually look better. It'll amplify your manifesting ability, because your sacral chakra superpower is your ability to create. It is your connection to your source creative energy, source creative power. So your superpower of your sacral chakra is your ability to manifest, to create, to bring things into being, to bring things into manifestings, to create. Whether you're creating a meal, you're in the kitchen and you're cooking a meal, or you're painting a picture, or you're creating an aesthetic in your environment, or you're creating a human in your womb, it is your access to creative energy, to creative power, to source creative power. And that's why when you have your sacral chakra unblocked and flowing optimally, then your manifesting powers and abilities are amplified.